In this video right here, I'm gonna share with you how this painting right here is gonna fix a ton of your simple painting mistakes. Here we go. Now you're probably wondering, how is this painting gonna help you? Well, this is my third painting I ever did, and it looks pretty good, and it probably looks something a lot like yours, but it has so many simple mistakes in it that are easily correctable. And when I do live streams right here on this channel where I take a look at viewer submitted art and give critiques and feedback, I see a lot of the same mistakes in their paintings that I see in this one here. So I'm gonna live critique this painting right here, load it into Photoshop so that way you can be aware of the mistakes and how to fix them and correct issues as we go through. So let's do that. All right, we're over at the computer, and please forgive if my image looks a little dusty in some spots because that is actual dust on the painting. This is before I discovered varnish to protect my painting. The first common mistake most new artists have when doing a painting are clouds, and you're gonna notice that a lot of my clouds right here are faded away, and this is due to the fact that my brush strokes were way too hard. When it comes to making clouds, you need to learn to have a very soft and ginger touch. When brushing up, giving movement to your clouds, which means clouds would be moving up in this general direction, giving them more formation, and also when you're going to brush across to work out the brush strokes. As you can see on my painting here, I did entirely too hard, which is why you see all these very, very horizontal, harsh brush strokes. Big mistake number 2 on my painting is you will see nothing but triangles happening in my mountain. And that really distracts from the painting here. Nature really doesn't grow in straight lines. To improve this, I really should have taken my knife and added a few more bumps and ridges leading up to this as it would come across. Then I could cheat and draw down on the back of my palette knife a little bit of an angle for highlights and snow. And this would allow me to realize where my shadow side is going to be, which would be on my left side here, illustrated by the green, which I can highlight just to give you guys a quick example. This would give me a better representation and a more natural look as I come down. And on my highlight side, I can meet up in certain aspects, creating awesome valleys or just coming straight down into particular points, adding to a more natural feel of my mountain. And sadly, I didn't do that. So here's what I have, and here's what I kind of should have done. Painting triangles is perhaps one of the most common things I see from brand new painters, and that's fine when you're starting out. But as you get a little more confidence, you know what you can do? Make a triangle, but then go back over it and have a little bit more of a shaky hand and more ridges and kind of level things out or give some extreme peaks. I'm telling you, it's gonna look weird at first, but when you go back and you add highlights and shadows on top of it, it's gonna look 1,000 times better. Common mistake number 3 is my mountains are just way too big. I mean, look at them. You've probably done this too. I should have painted my mountains way up here. This actually would help with 2 things. One is it's going to help create a forced perspective that these mountains are way in the background. Number 2 is it's actually going to allow me to play more with my midground and also create a better foreground that's going to be more detailed. Also, that's going to help push this mountain further back, creating a forced perspective, which is really going to build depth in your painting. Common mistake number 4 is all about the laying of land. I want you at the beginning to stay away from curved lines when throwing in your landscapes. If you want to build appropriate curves and angles, you want to build depth by using straight lines. Each one of these lines is going to illustrate a snowbank or riverbank or whatever you want, or bushes in our foreground. And naturally, by drawing these straight lines, each one of these lines would build depth because each one would be its own plane. But as you tap them in, you're naturally forcing the eye to come down into a natural curved motion, which looks like the river is curving in this general direction. And then you can accentuate your riverbanks by tapping on snow, making rocks on top, or even adding water lines, which would really help over on this right-hand side because it would look like water's coming around, going into a cove, and then coming back out and continuing down the river. You want to try to use straight lines as best as possible on a 2D platform like a painting that's going to force the eye into a perspective to make it think it's looking at a 3D image. I hope that makes sense. This is a really tough one to talk about unless you're visually looking at your own painting. Essentially, stay away from curved lines and just add a bunch of straight lines, which are going to be planes in your painting that would eventually make up the curve of the landscape. All right, common mistake number 5 is what is happening in this bottom right-hand corner. And no, it's not my cabin. I actually think my cabin looks pretty darn decent. It's the highlights that are happening down here in the bottom left-hand corner. You can see I'm having major issues. From issues to where I can't get them to stick, to where it's pushing through to get the background of the river, which means I'm getting mud mixing, and I'm just not getting them to stick at all. I'm pushing through to bare canvas. So what's causing this to happen? Well, it's the fact that I don't have enough paint on my paintbrush. So when I go to push in these sections, I'm not getting anything to stick. I'm just either grabbing background color or I'm pushing through to bare canvas. Make sure for your highlight color, you have ample enough paint on your paintbrush, and make sure that paint that's on your paintbrush is a nice creamy texture, so when you push it on top of firmer paint, it will stick and come off and create a beautiful texture for highlights. Now that you're aware of these mistakes, I know that you're not going to make them as often, which means your confidence is going to grow and every painting from here on out is going to be way better. You're welcome. A little pat on the back for me. Now, if you need any more help with your paintings or painting process, on this channel here, every so often we do live streams where I help you out with user submitted art and give you feedback and critiques and show you exactly what we did on this video here, how to make your art better or so things click for you. I do that for YouTube channel members, and you can become one for the low price of $1. But if you think you're ready to dominate some painting, hey, why don't you check out one of my tutorials over to the side where I'll see you there with my my awesome hair. Check you all later, and of course, peace.